bake me cookies.
Is this a hint?
No,
I should be out there baking you cookies.
No,
I don't even bake them for my darling.
Oh, well, you give me donut holes and coffee and stuff. That's kind of nice. Yeah, but like I was saying, the incident with her bathrobe, like that. That was.
Should I be hearing this? Is this something I want to know about my neighbor?
You haven't been listening?
Anyway. I don't know quite.
Let me know when you're doing your podcast, then, if you need.
Right now?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you about the bathrobe thing later.
Oh my goodness.
But I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. But since we're kind of on a hiatus. So.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, I want to thank you for going out there and getting that really great footage of the beehive that was there. And I want to
I didn't see it today.
No, it disappeared. Yesterday, I did sheets, hung the sheets on the line yesterday, and all of a sudden I heard that same buzzing noise. That whole football of bees, just instantly, I mean within 2 minutes, it was gone. It was there. It was a solid thing. Bzz, 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 and then all of a sudden, just gone. There were a few stragglers out there, and they seemed agitated. They seemed like they didn't know quite what happened. They might be the newbies or something, but get it? But, and I didn't think that up ahead of time. That just came. Oh, boy, am I lucky.
Oh, that's clear.
Another bee pun, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it's just too good. And remember we were talking yesterday about the image of bees being a blessing and good luck and that sort of thing?
Except when I got that footage, a bee chased me across your yard. Like one bee followed me, so that's why I didn't get a lot of footage.
Did it chase you back to your truck so that you would, did you get in it and drive away?
No, I jumped over the fence and just ran into the woods.
Yeah, we need that footage.
I need that bee. I'll train him. That wasn't a bee. That was one of those nanobots.
I didn't think of that. It was weird that they were so well organized. Yeah. I wonder.
What if it was?
Like a robot bee?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? That was the big thing. I remember Dick Cheney. Somebody,
Nobody says
no
that.
kid, no kid. Somebody asked him one time what he was most excited about in the moment, during that period of time. He didn't say hunting. He did say nanotechnology. And I'm thinking nanobots. Do you remember, didn't we hear something that they were working on technology that would allow them to sprinkle little bots in areas that you couldn't put them eyeballs. You couldn't put boots on the ground in a certain area. And they were talking about maybe having nanobots in there. And then you didn't hear about that anymore, which makes me think also of those drones that were flying over.
Those are giant nanobots.
Well, they wouldn't be nano.
Maybe Maxo or something.
Nanobots.
Everything's a Maxobot, is it not? Yeah, anyway.
We'll get into philosophy on another show.
But I do.
Maybe tomorrow we should try to figure out what became of the.
Well, you gotta do a Freaky Friday, right?
Yeah, it's Freaky Friday, so maybe we should look for what happened to those UFOs or the drones, whatever they were, that were flying all over the place.
Good luck.
Well, they aren't they? They're like people. I always laugh when people say, "I think UFOs are real." Well, yeah. If you can't identify them and they fly, yeah, they're real.
now they just call them UAPs. Am I supposed to save this conversation?
Well, wait,
or
what's
something?
an UAP?
Unidentified
aerial phenomenon. Leave it
A
to you.
UFO, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just sounds like we know. Like it's not.
Do you know
fantasy.
Do you know that's why language changes so much? It's because people make fun of things, and so they're just like, oh, that's kind of tainted now.
Yeah.
It's just like UFOs now. People are like, hey, UFO, you're silly, alien, blah blah blah. Oh, we got to take it seriously, so let's change the name. No, just ignore the goofs.
So that it doesn't sound like it's something that you can make fun of or a fantasy thing, or like part of the old 1950s outer space aliens, invaders kind of thing.
The only thing different is they think something in the air might not be flying. Am I right? No. they got rid of the flying part. It's up there, but
It's
it might
aerial.
not necessarily be flying.
It's a
Like a hot air balloon.
a weather balloon. That's what it is for sure. But it's like anything else, isn't it? And I especially tell my grandkids and stuff, you're in charge of your own PR. So if you want people to take you seriously about
Be
something,
your own leader.
be your own leader. Make sure that you're communicating how you want to be thought of. Remember the old thing, dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So in other words, just if you want to be taken more as a manager, then dress like a manager. Don't come in your ripped up jeans, and even though they might be the epitome of fashion, think in terms of what would the company want to project, and it's probably not ripped up jeans.
And like another saying, make sure you come to the door when there's a delivery with your bathrobe closed.
Well, hey, at least she had it on to some degree. I mean, I'm told of people that have gone to get this. It was a banned book for a while by a woman. She lived, I believe, in northern Pennsylvania. And when I was a kid, this book was known to be banned. But she used to slather all up with olive oil, her whole body.
Oh, that's a writer.
She looked great. But she would go to the door to answer the door wearing a see-through raincoat over her slathered up self.
Wait.
Okay, this is for the after dark version.
Which you should do. Have a couple glasses of wine and do.
Not for breakfast, dude.
No, but like seriously, you should do that.
Have an
Should do,
after
like,
dark.
An after
One-
dark where you have
once-
some wine and stuff.
Once in a while. Oh, I don't know. I don't
I'm
govern
not
my
saying
mouth.
use profanity and stuff like that, but
Nowadays everybody's so willing to pounce. If anybody says anything that ruffles their feathers in any way, shape, or form, the next thing you know, you have to kind of survey the woods around your house to make sure there's no shooters in there.
So let's go back about what was the good fortune with the bees.
Hey, somebody very dear to me got a job that they have been wanting to hear about for a long time, and it just came through. I'm not at liberty to say. I'll keep that to myself, but it happened. And like I say, they just
How
disappeared.
close was the time coincidence?
It was while the bees were still here. Literally moments before they left, because when they left, I heard that buzz within a minute, 2 minutes tops. That whole hive was gone.
well, I got the footage right after the podcast and I left.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been that much longer, huh?
It was just a little while longer, right after you left. Also, I'll ask you if you would you take some video like you did yesterday? Would you take some video of that little tree without the hive in it, but also where we sit? When I say that we sometime would like to have our breakfast podcast outside, what we usually do is just set up a couple camping chairs and a little table right next to that tree. And we have done so. Before we started taping every day, we would often have breakfast out there. But we feel we need to control as much of the environment as possible right now. So we're going to start out in here and then graduate to being able to do it outside.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But what's funny to me is if that hive had been in that tree, there would have been us sitting there with jelly on scones and all of the sugary stuff. That could have been an absolute disaster out there. So I'm so glad that it came. It was interesting, and I did enjoy seeing that. And your video, which we put up as a short, by the way, if anybody wants to check out what we're talking about, because we've devoted a lot of minutes to telling about this, but I've never experienced anything so interesting as that. And even just watching them, and to think that there was no branch that they were all sitting on. It was like one of those football pileups,
And I know you guys don't, this isn't like a video podcast that you guys, it's more like an old time radio show that you would have on in the background when you're doing you're working from home or whatever, in whatever fashion or form you're doing that. And I like that. I like to work on stuff, and I'll have something on in the background or whatever, how radio was and everything. But that seemed to be and that was a good call on your part. That seemed to be something that you really need to show the fans and stuff.
Because it's we can describe it all we want, but
The
a
viewers,
picture.
the viewers are listeners. I didn't fans. I don't know if you have fans.
No, we don't have any fans. Even in regular life, we don't. And that's part of the point of the podcast.
Well, not me. I'm clearly a fan. I'm here.
I sometimes wonder if
Fan
it's
of
the
your
donuts, the coffee and the donuts. No, we
It is
enjoy
getting
having
quite a
it.
few views, by the way.
Yeah.
So, is there any other search terms, or do you have a link or anything?
Well, I think it's on your. You have it on your shorts, right? So people
I don't
will.
know. You know that better than I.
But
because
people,
you
people have it
guys
on your
handle the
shorts.
tech.
Yeah, people have it on your shorts. So it's like
You don't be mentioning people's shorts. Bathrobes are one thing, but shorts is something.
keep your shorts closed too, kids. and also kids, don't harass the bees if they're busy.
No.
It only take. Can you imagine that though? Like that whole swarm. One bee made me jump over your fence and run into the woods.
rightfully so,
One
because-
bee.
Because you guys were talking about squirting them with water or blowing on the hive or whatever that was out there.
But it's free.
So they were more unsettled. Maybe they did leave a little earlier, but see, that brought somebody good luck.
Yes, but the bees have to understand this is America, and it's free speech. So we can talk about doing. I don't.
Is it free speech? Is it? I mean, when people are getting arrested for protests on college campuses, that should be protected. Unless they're throwing rocks or pushing people or up in somebody's face, you should be able to say what you think. And my rule for that is say what you think. Give reasons why you think that, but protect the people that you're listening to. We need to get back to that in this country.
You know what?
It's
You know what
we've
college?
gone too far.
You know what college kids need to get back to?
Study.
College.
No, that's part of the experience.
Oh, it's part of the.
It's part. Well, you go back.
From the back in the 70s,
It's
for
like,
sure.
70s.
it's like when you all the socializing and goofing around and stuff.
Oh, like you wouldn't be. Oh my God, you'd be there. You'd be right in the thick of it. Number one, you have an opinion about everything. Number two, you enjoy it. You enjoy
Who doesn't have an opinion about stuff?
stoking conversation, which is fine. That's how you should be. That's what's fun about
Unless
it.
you disagree with that opinion, then it's not fine. Somebody doesn't want you to.
So far, we haven't had any of our arguments
That's
since
not
we've
true.
been taking.
That is not true. We've had plenty of our.
No, not like normal.
So what were you saying about the protests and stuff?
Anyway, well, the one young man at Columbia University was arrested. He's here on a visa. He has a green card, and he's being held down in, I think, New Orleans, somewhere in Louisiana, and they're talking about deporting him because he was promoting pro-Palestinian perspectives on the college campus as part of a protest. And to my knowledge, there was no altercation between him and anybody else. They're just calling it anti-Semitic, and they're labeling him as part of a terrorist organization. But I think you need to walk that back. I mean, our authorities, if we have freedom of speech, if we have freedom of speech, we need to protect freedom of speech as long as it's not injurious to someone, to their physical space. You know what I mean? I can say what I want. I have to back it up, and I do need to be sensitive to how I say it. And when it comes down to name calling and it comes down to threatening language or accusations to somebody's face that they promote an idea or an extreme example of an idea, we need to check that and begin. We can talk about things. We really can.
You just described the 2024 campaigns.
I know. This has been going on now for a while. This isn't a new phenomenon. It's just the inevitable result of allowing that to just continuously escalate. And we need to, pull it back.
Have you seen anything more about the EI week protests?
I haven't seen any data yet. I do know that it's ongoing. I think the hardest thing for people is going to be not using like Amazon Prime and doing things like that, because I think everybody can delay for a week ordering some non-essential thing.
They don't care if you don't use the video entertainment benefit
No,
of that,
no,
though,
they don't.
because they've already paid. So it's not, they don't care. You can watch it or not. We don't care. But anyway, I did get thinking about I did mention it, I think, last time a little bit about the DEI thing and pointing out, and I'd like to underscore that actually, that women are 50% of the population. And the last demographics, I guess it was the 2020 census probably, it's about 60%-ish are white. And then the rest, I think it's like 30% between Hispanic and blacks. And the rest is various other
Asians.
minorities, right?
And that's here in the United
So
States.
if you think about it for a minute, of the white section, which is 60%, 30% of that, half of that are women. And that's the equity part of DEI, right? So that if you add up the other groups, which are 100%, protected by DEI, you've got only. Let me see how to put this. The only group that's being benefited by getting rid of DEI is 30% of the population of the United States, which are white males.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So if 60% are white males.
No, white people.
White people. Okay. Right. So 60% are white people, and then half of that obviously would
Be women.
be women. So it'd only be like 30%.
of the population, but they hold all the positions, all the
Yeah.
decision-making
And
positions.
the so-called decree came down from
that
two white
30%.
males.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't know how this, it's crazy if you think about it. 30% are benefiting from losing DEI, and all the other protected groups are no longer protected.
But Dave, the thing that kills me about it is everybody's got a mama. A lot of people have a sister. Everybody has to understand, if you make it harder for your sister or your mother to get a good, well-paying job, you throw extra hurdles in her way, do you think that you're not going to feel that in some negative way yourself as a male? I mean, that's not a brain trust figuring that out.
Well, the women I've dated, I've felt a lot of negative things.
Yeah, but you tease people, and a lot of people don't know how to take that.
I'm 100% blameless.
Because you're a male and you're Caucasian. No, really.
Well,
If you
partly.
how about families that pay for their daughter to go to college? Let's say you paid for it, and now she gets out into the job market.
Becomes a stripper.
She'd get paid better and she'd get hired quicker. But so she wants to put her education to work, but she cannot crack into those jobs in industry or a government that will pay her well enough that she can, fairly quickly pay back student loans, maybe pay mom and dad back. So there is no benefit to not making sure that she's not passed up for
So
jobs.
that's another thing I didn't think about, the equity part of all that. Does that mean now then, if they get rid of it, that it's now legal to pay women much less for the same job?
I think there's not as many penalties for doing that. I think you'd have a lot harder time in court because now the structure of regulation that prevented that from happening has been kicked out, So
But
where does that
to be
leave us?
fair to these companies, maybe they're just tired of, people that are
Not like that.
that are nagging them.
Oh, you know what? I wish I can laugh at it because I know that we're playing, but is there some of that? Is there some of that? All right, this is me asking an invasive question of you as males. Is there a locker room sense that your wife, girlfriend, sister, daughters, mothers gang up on you and make you do stuff you don't want to do? or ask you for things or nag you. Is that understood that you're being nagged?
I mean, like the honey-do list thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure where you're going with that.
No,
with the question.
It's a setup.
Yeah.
No, I would say yes.
Shut up,
Yes.
bro.
I think
Don't answer her.
I think there's a certain sense of that you get nagged a lot and stuff. But
In your experience, is that true?
yes. But
Is it because
wait, no. Hang on, let me explain. But I'm saying that it's not more than I would nag her, and it's not like that's all she is. It's all humans are complex, and so to say like there's somebody I knew, she was just like, oh, you're this is how you are, you're blah 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 this way, and it's like, but nobody's one way all the time, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like sometimes you're naggy, sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're jokey. So it's not fair to say that it's all one thing. Or so to answer your question, yes, because some of that could be the naggy thing, and that's where how stereotypes are created. Yeah. It's the reaction to a facet of someone's personality that you react to with more intensity or more sensitivity, and that becomes a stereotype. So that's where that comes from. So it's like, it's not true. It's like a person who's like you might nag somebody about one thing, and then maybe that triggers them in some way, and they remember that. But
and they're ready to bring the subject up the next time you do or say something that even suggests that we're revisiting that same old argument.
Stereotypes are a reflection of the person who's reacting and not the actual person they're reacting to.
Do you think part of the reason that there's this division between I'm going to say WASP males for shorthand
I should be
here.
offended by that,
You should.
but I'm also part Native American.
Yeah,
So.
but look how you enjoyed the bees. So being called a wasp shouldn't be that bad. Anyway, do you think it's because these are our communities or societies that you can't join? You can't join the women for real. You can't. You can never appreciate those ethnic communities from the inside with total understanding. You might be good friends and have good relationships with people in ethnic communities, but you never will really know. Nobody really knows what that experience totally is from the outside looking in. You just can't do it. It's like window shopping, to use a cheap example. You just don't really know. And so maybe the feeling of getting rid of any reference to that or any perceived granting of advantage to being part of those exclusionary groups is a feeling of exclusion yourself. Is that it?
We are so far from Martin Luther King Jr. It's not even funny.
It's worse. I think it's worse than ever.
No.
But if you think in terms of, I know that there's been a lot of religious movements who have felt that this all needed to be addressed and that we need to get back to old, in this country, Christian values, et cetera, et cetera. But it just seems to me like we're trying to put God in a little box that keeps other people out. We determine who God is, what God likes, what God doesn't like. We can go by the Holy Writ, but if, especially in Christian communities, it comes down to love thy neighbor as thyself as the greatest commandment.
That was the problem I had with my ex-wife. She took that literally.
Okay. Which one of your ex-wives?
Number 2. I'm naming my ex-wives like Elon will start naming his children.
Poor Elon, speaking of
Oh,
him.
sorry. Go on about religion instead of Elon Musk. Stick to religion.
Well, no, it's poor Elon.
Religion and politics. Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, this is a forbidden Thanksgiving dinner. You can't talk about any of this stuff. Because Tesla stock.
You mean
has
Tesla?
Tesla stock has just continued to drop. And now people are really saying, hey, Elon, get back to work. I mean, we joke with you, Des, when you're not at work. Why aren't you at work? But there he is.
You say that?
No, we say it to you. What are you? Are you not
We
listening?
have President Trump saying, "Oh, don't worry about the fall in the stock market. You can buy Tesla stock because it's real low right now." And he's saying this to a country of people who can't afford an egg.
I know that's right.
And I was just thinking that I could see Trump eventually like turning into Popeye with the Tesla thing. I could see him talking like Popeye.
Do it. Let me hear.
I'm not gonna get in my Tesla. Eventually he'll just start. The Tesla stocks. Anyway.
Oh wow, I loved Popeye. My brother loved Popeye.
So back to religion.
Okay, back to Tesla.
Which is what politics has become now.
It actually it's gotten very culty. I mean, the two main parties are now cults. They can't see their way clear.
You know why Democrats hate and fear the MAGA stuff so much?
Why?
Is because they don't have their own branding.
They don't. And you know what? I want to laugh at that, but that's part of the problem.
Have their own hats and stuff.
That's part of the problem. When they just say, "Oh, you're for DEI," that was one of the things, and that's being dismantled in a brutal way.
What happened to the donkey?
They've never made much of the donkey because it's an ass. That's why. And that you have to think about it. We have a family member who correctly points out that when the Republican Party was started up, the color red, which has been associated with them, was connected with communism. And he points that out correctly, and he says they should have thought that out. Yeah, red shiny.
The old saying, I remember that myself.
The
Better dead than red.
The Republican Party was started during the Civil War to help abolish slavery.
Yes, but as they have progressed, that color has become very associated with the Republican Party, and it was known, especially in last century, it was associated very strongly with communist ideologies. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting thing, and as far as the Democrats go, you think of a hardworking donkey, but because you call it, it's interchangeable with the word ass, I think it's lost its allure, if it ever had.
Also the characteristic of the donkey being stubborn
and
fixed in its ways.
And uncooperative.
I guess it is appropriate.
And that it won't work with you without, being, beaten
let's
with
break
a
those
stick.
two things down. So you have the elephant on the one side and the donkey on the other side.
Yeah.
So the donkey's stubborn, right? Yeah. The elephant is what? Like
Long
never forgets.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're seeing
what the
this.
hell are those?
Yeah, let's get rid of, all right, number one. So we're going to, at this table, we will revamp politics in the United States of America. The first thing we're going to get rid of, the donkey and the elephant. Gone.
And that's, what's so sad? That will never happen because I don't know why. They can't. It's like you can't have a viable third party.
No.
And you can't even change your mascots for some reason. I don't know.
It would be an interesting thing, and we should probably think about it. What would be, right now, understanding both parties as they are today, or seem to be today, we're not going to be definitive, but as they seem to be today, as their public relations suggests, what would be a good mascot for the Democrats and what would be a good one for the Republicans? What would you say? On you, Des.
Well, the Republican one's clear, a duck.
In what way a duck?
For Donald.
Donald.
You
Well,
mean
no,
the-
that's
the
too
current-
thin.
The current Republican.
No, I think in terms of the way they come off. What would you think?
I don't know. I think they both should just be an ostrich.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good because they are completely out of touch. I mean, right now, the American people hired Donald Trump to bring prices down, and he has done every single thing that will have the effect of raising prices. He admits it, and he says it's going to be a rough ride for a couple of years. Well, we didn't sign up for that.
For you. It doesn't have that part in there. For you.
For all of you. But here's the other thing, too, I think. If you hire somebody to help, bring prices down, you don't want them to go down and rip apart the boiler room in your company. That's not what you want them to start doing. You have to figure out ways that you can bring those down right now for people, because I think they have overestimated the American public's ability to coast or to dog paddle through a bunch more upheaval. I think people are really at the breaking point. I know people around where I live, they don't have any cushion. And when you're making noises about ripping apart Social Security, every agency in our government is ripped apart. People are out on the street. I mean, even the Republicans who just a couple of months ago were celebrating the victory of taking the Oval Office back, even they now are kind of having to hold their breath when they go back to their home areas and they're listening to people saying, "What are you doing? You must stop this." The people who are enacting these regulations, they have plenty of cushion, but they have lost touch with what's happening.
See, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that even the people that voted for somebody will say, "Well, wait, I don't agree with that." Other than, rather than just being like, "Well, whatever you want to do." So it's good, even though, somebody you vote for wins. It's, that's the thing. It's
You give them a shot and see how they're doing it. And I think this is too much, too fast.
Maybe.
And I think,
Well,
how does it affect, it's really a cliche. What does it do for the price of eggs?
And he, I think there's an effort. It seems like there's an effort to cram 8 years into 4.
Yeah, into 4 months.
Yeah.
Well, I think I guess at the end of May, the Doge is, I don't know whether they're completely shut down or whether it's just Musk has to go back to his day job or...
Well, what would be funny is if they did like an audit of their department and be like, "Oh, we're spending too much on us."
No, that's right. That's right. I think people really are nervous, and it's if you hire somebody to clean your house and they're ripping apart, your furnace and the water system and all of that. That's not what you signed up for.
See, when people are, I think people are put in that state of mind, and also that emotional state, so that they're easier to manipulate. And that's why it's polarized, because both sides do that. Mm-hmm. And also, it's done in certain things, like, who else kind of does that? Uses fear and... Anyway, I'll remember what it was. But anyway, you were talking about religion?
Yes. Yes.
The religion of politics.
No.
But you said something. You were saying something about...
It is, well, right now, there's upheaval in religion. That also has become, well, it always was, very, very polarizing. But I don't believe that people are feeling that they can turn to their own personal religion for any kind of solace or comfort or guidance, and because it all plays into the hands of politics. And also, with this whole concept of free speech, if you are free to practice your religion, you're free to speak. You have to be, or we have neither.
And don't forget, it's a freedom from religion.
That's right. And I won't start this in this particular episode, but that reminds me that at some point I'd like to talk about dogma versus tolerance.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
And I'll just say, like, I'm spiritual, but I don't like to paint every one group with the same brush. That's not fair. But I will say that just like in any group that gets power over people and it brings in money and all that stuff, it can be enticing to maintain that control, and you do that through fear and manipulation and everything. So it's people shouldn't say that because you criticize certain religions or certain practices that you're anti-God or anti-spiritual or any of that stuff.
I think the sooner people come around to an understanding that God is so much bigger, the concept of God, of a spirit, that a creative spirit, a loving spirit, a spirit that propels things forward in a certain level of benevolence. I think the sooner we understand that your concept or your description of what that spirit is to you from your spiritual perspective, and if I were to offer my spiritual description of what the creator, I'll say, is to me, I think we would find that there were an awful lot of words that we used as descriptors that are common, that we both share. And I think once we can get to the place on this planet where we say, okay, your God and my God are the same. My understanding and your understanding focus a little bit different, but when we put that picture together, that our concept of God meshes, and we still are only seeing a fraction of what that creative spirit, that creative impulse is.
So you're saying you're a right-wing extremist?
I wouldn't say that.
Sure.
No, not at all.
Or a left-wing what? So I guess
A left wing nut.
so basically the two mascots would be just two nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, a peanut.
A right-wing nut or a left-wing nut.
Yeah. No, I don't know. There's just so much to it, and it's all become so enmeshed. And the camps have become so vicious that if we can find any sort of common ground, if we can do playground rules, no name calling, no stone throwing, if someone's behavior is harming other people or not allowing other kids on the swing or on the slide, then they need to be asked nicely, please stand aside and let other people have their turn. It's playground rules.
If certain figures in certain religions had a secret wife, that's okay. I mean, we should get into the 21st century and talk about that.
Or in some cases, secret wives, plural.
Yeah. I won't name any names,
Heavens, we have a lot to discover here.
But getting back to the women back in those days didn't get a lot of credit for a lot of things. So it wouldn't be surprising if certain religious icons had a wife and she was buried by history.
Boy. Yeah.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, I mean, that would be,
I mean, these are all theories. This is all things that we can talk about. What does that have to do with the price of eggs? I don't know. But it comes down to sorting through it, listening to other sides, and being willing to kind of bring things back to center as much as you possibly can. And I don't think that's an easy task. During the speech to Congress, I was impressed with how well that was delivered. It was masterful. It really was. It was even enjoyable to watch. But there were a whole bunch of things that were left out of that speech. And at one point, when President Trump looked over at the Democratic side of the aisle, and he said, "There is nothing I can say, there is nothing I can do that would induce you to clap or show approval or smile," something along those lines. I watched that and I thought, how hard that must be to know that. That must be a real hard thing. When you know that there's nothing you can do to appease a situation or to please a partner or anything like that, it would make you feel very hopeless.
Trust me, it would.
But don't you think that maybe that becomes time to listen, to say, okay, what do you want? Let's talk.
But here's a question. Do you want him to succeed?
I do, but I think he can
Do you
only
really,
do.
though?
No, I do.
mean, do they?
If he succeeds, we all succeed.
I think it's. But I think it's
if
the.
he
Not
succeeds,
necessarily. No, because the leaders are not all that well known for acting in the best interest
yeah,
of the
this
people.
this guy,
Yes, that's the joke.
our this president at this point in time has a unique opportunity to be a great uniter, but you can't continue on the path he's on. He just can't. It's more divisive than ever. It seems vicious and heartless, and it isn't even appealing to the people that took a flyer on voting for him, thinking that he would keep his promises to bring prices down like now, because we're out of time. People are out of the bandwidth to be able to absorb more costs.
People are out of eggs.
They're out of eggs. I mean, when I'm rationing eggs, and I am, then it's time to take a breather on all the big stuff. Yeah, you want to do that, and yeah, it probably does have to be done, but it doesn't have to be done, now. It doesn't have to be done in the way you're doing it, and it would seem like you're a new manager. You come in and you spend some time figuring out why things are the way they are, and then you work from there. Small adjustments, a series of small adjustments until you get to where you need. You don't go in there with a chainsaw, which we've seen, and I know that was done as a metaphor, but it was very accurate.
Well,
So the guy needs to listen. He needs to say, okay, what do you need? And then make some of it happen, and do it in a spirit of cheerfulness. Be a cheerful giver, and then you're slowly going to get a few more people that approve of what you're doing if you really are doing things as a uniter.
well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
And see if you can answer this honestly, okay? Mm-hmm. So you had him for 4 years in 2016. Now there's 4 more. Do you think he's better now?
You know what? He isn't doing the dirty work now. He's sitting in his white shirt and tie, and he's got the guy in the T-shirt jumping around behind the desk doing all of the gremlin work. So when it comes time, when finally the public hits the breaking point with it, he's going to be able to sit there in his white shirt and tie and say, oh, it wasn't me. It was him. He did this.
They do that with
That's
They
everybody.
all do it.
This-
No, it's not
the-
unusual,
The
but
cabinet
this
you
is
pick
glaring.
and your vice president even, they all take the
It's
heat.
glaring. This is glaring. And it's because this is so radical.
Did you ever think that he does that on purpose?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do.
Do you think he's trying to get you worked up?
He knows it's inevitable because he's polarizing. Okay. But he likes that because his name is in the news.
Right.
And at the bottom line,
So if you know someone's trying to get you worked up, why get worked up?
because when you're going about things like that are tearing apart at the fabric of the institution and the very foundations
What's
that
making you feel that way?
I watch the news.
Which news do you watch?
Mainstream media, too much.
I watch
It's
a
different.
lot of
American is different news. It's that was almost a sentence, but I grew up in America, so I'm not highly educated.
well,
Wasn't that the low 30s or something now? I don't know.
anyway, wow, from bees to this. It's tiring. Now I'm too tired to do all the stuff that I was going to do
So
today.
like you said earlier, like another episode, that it's like a therapy session, really.
Well, it is. Well, you kind of walk through what you're thinking. I wish Joanne's was open, was going to stay open so people could turn away from the news cycle and just get busy with their little hobbies and, just kind of insulate themselves from a lot of that.
I actually enjoy these conversations because I tend to play.
You're devil's advocate.
I am, and sometimes
Which is
the
good.
devil, but
Which is good. And that's what.
But I only do that because I like to tear arguments apart and figure them out for myself.
You get as many perspectives as you can, and that's how you have to move forward. And that means there's a certain amount of listening, even though you might not like what you're hearing. Listen and think about what it means and what's being said to you. And that goes not just for our little podcast. You're sitting eating our donut holes. It goes on the larger scale, I think, too. And always listening is a good plan. So, guys, I've got to get busy. I can't sit here all day yakking with you.
Oh, you certainly have the ability.
Well, I'll go get some video of the empty tree now. That'll be interesting to see.
Also, let's put the chairs up there so that people can see exactly how close that tree was, how close to where we would have been sitting. And we did talk about having our podcast out there at the.
Yeah, at some point we'll do some episodes that are virtual reality experience. So you'll hear the full environment that we're in. Take a walk in the woods or whatever it may be.
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Till next time.